So we're going to be making a paper bag 3D snowflake tonight. And we're also going to be making that giant, well, we're not making the giant tree that you saw in the dome, but we're going to make a miniature size of it. And it's basically the same exact thing. We just blew it up like 50 times. So we're going to go ahead and get started on our 3D snowflake. Okay. So you're going to take your kit and you're going to take your paper towel tube out because you don't need that yet. And you're going to take the paper out because you don't need that yet. And then you're going to take out, there should be 7 bags inside the one bag. You're going to use all the bags. So you're going to take this bag and you're going to fold it back up again. Okay, now you've got your stack of bags. And now Katrina is going to take it from there.
All right. Okay, this is kind of magic. You're going to take your bag and you see there's the little flap at the bottom. Okay, you're going to keep your flap side up so that you can see it. And we've just drawn on here basically what you're going to do with your glue gun. Where the T is where your glue is going to go. So the glue gun is the easiest way because it's quick. You could do regular glue if you had time to let these sit.
Yeah, you gotta squeeze it really hard. My glue gun is kind of aggressive.
Okay, so we did our T.
Okay.
And then we want to place the next bag up the same way. So we want our flap up towards the top, like we had on the bottom.
So all the flaps should match.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. We're going to keep going the same way. There we go. Here's another one. Again, there's the flap. We're going to make our T.
Okay.
And down here.
Bring extra glue sticks.
I have some.
Oh, good.
They're in that bag. Okay, so there we go. And we're just going to keep doing that. We're going to do that with all 8 of your bags. These 2 are already glued together, but we're just going to take, again, flaps go in the same direction up. You're going to do your T.
And that was.
I didn't count them out. That
So
one was stuck
together.
Oh,
2.
I think we're at 4.
We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bags.
Okay, because I cheated. I used 2 that were glued together.
Okay.
Already.
You can do this with any color bags. If you wanted to do just brown paper lunch bags, if you've got some at home right now and you weren't able to come in and get one of the kits, you could go grab just brown lunch paper bags and practice with them.
I think that's how we actually started out
Yeah.
to see if it would work.
Yep.
Oops, we're gonna need more glue. Actually, you know what would be cool, other than obviously we're working on our white winter wonderland. But if you were doing this in the summer, it would be cute, like for a birthday or a party to do like
yeah,
pink.
that
You
would
could
be.
make them into flowers.
Yeah.
Pinky yellow would be fun.
Okay. So how many bags are we at now?
I think we're at 6. I think these would be the last 2.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
We have 7 bags?
Yep, 7 bags are on there.
Okay.
Because that one was glued together.
Okay.
I think that's why.
All right, so there we go. Here's our last bag. Okay. All right, so now we have a nice stack, all 8 bags glued together. Just so you can see, it's going to be the right size.
Ooh. Now, one thing is before you do any cutouts, it's not going to open all the way. So don't worry that it doesn't have enough bags in it.
The holes loosen it up.
Yep.
So, ours is a little snug. It doesn't quite go, but once you do your cutouts, it'll all connect.
Okay, so this is the fun part.
This is the fun part. Now you and I do it different ways
Okay.
because I don't have the fancy equipment that you have. So, well, why don't we show your way? Because
Well, I mean, I don't do the whole thing fancy. When I was doing the big, like for the really, really big 3D snowflakes, we had grocery size bags, and those were much thicker than these lunch paper bags. So for those, what I would do is I would take my cutting mat and my straight edge and my X-Acto knife, and then I could really cut into all the different layers, and I would get nice straight lines, nice straight edges all the way through, all matching. And then with, like, if I was doing circles, I would find something round in my house, like a glass or a mug, and I'd set it on there, and I would trace around it with the X-Acto knife to get a nice clean edge. But I mean, I did this with scissors too, so it's definitely doable with scissors.
it's a little hard, but all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of cut because I want points. Oh. So, technical here. Okay, so we're just gonna make a little point, and it is a little hard with the scissors, but you can get through.
Those aren't my best scissors either.
Well, that's okay. They'll get the job done. Okay, so we're just gonna kind of cut. I don't know if you can see. We're just kind of cutting, bringing it to a point. Just clean it up a little.
And you want to make sure that if you're cutting multiple notches or circles into your snowflake, that you make sure you leave an edge that's connected. So if you're cutting this out here, you don't want to cut immediately right here. You want to leave that fold connected.
Okay, so this is not quite even, but the snowflakes aren't perfect.
That's right.
Okay, so now you would just really do your decorating. So let's see.
Especially when you get down into the bottom where it's folded a couple of times, it's really much thicker, really 2 or 3 times thicker. That's really when an X-Acto knife or utility knife comes in handy.
So I just took a little piece out. You can kind of see right here. See, it's just a little half circle. And then what I'm going to do, because I'm not going to use the X-Acto knife, is that I would just maybe take a pencil or a pen and just kind of trace so that as I'm going through, my cuts are the same or similar. They don't have to be, again, not perfection. And I probably could try to cut through 2 at a time for ease, quickness here. This is just what I'm happen to be doing. You could do whatever you like. It's just like when you were little and you would cut out paper snowflakes. Every cut is going to be not necessarily what you think it's going to look like, but that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
And every time we open them, I was telling Linda when we were working on our windows, it's so much fun when you open it. It's like a little present. You don't quite know how it's going to look.
Yep.
And they're all.
And you find that there's ones you like better than others. Like I really like the curved edge at the top. I like the way those came out.
Mm-hmm. That did too nice for sure.
Those are just the worst scissors. I should not have brought them.
Well, well, we could always switch to your X-Acto knife.
Yes, we could. But you're almost done.
Right. This is just for.
Okay.
So this is just, obviously it's just one cut. It's not going to be super impressive, but doing the.
Sticking a little bit.
Yeah.
Now you notice with these bags, there is print on one side. So you might want to keep that in mind with your printing. The ones that we got last year, they didn't have that, that printing on them. So that's how we avoided it. But we didn't realize it till these came in that those had those.
So that's just the one little, we did our little point at the top and then just our one little cut.
It's
So
beautiful.
obviously, whatever you do, they're all going to be different.
Yep.
And then what we would do is you could staple it, or you could, what we just have been doing in the past.
Yep.
We just paper clip them. Just like the honeycomb decorations. When we were kids, remember that?
Yes.
So that way.
Okay. You could also tape them. You could glue them if you wanted to keep it.
Okay.
And then another trick is you can make twice the snowflakes with the same amount of bags by cutting them in half. So if you cut them in half, and again, this is where I use my X-Acto knife, but I'm not going to tonight because I didn't bring my cutting mat. So you can take 2 or 3 at a time. Oh, and you don't even have to cut them in the middle. You can cut them, you know, 1/3 of the way, 3/4 of the way, however you want to do it. And then you get different depths of snowflakes, and that's what we did last year. So you do that, and then when you go to glue them, you're going to glue the side that you cut on. So don't glue the folded edge, you're going to glue the cut edge. And the same thing. And so basically you're not doing a T, now you're doing an L. So you're going like this. Down that edge, and then you're lining up your cut edge with the other cut edge and making sure your fold is still the same. And now you're going to get kind of a fan look. Okay.
Like if you had the one bag.
So if you cut down the middle of that, those lines show you where you would put your hot glue. And so this is one that we did ahead of time. And this is half of, it's a little bit more than half a bag. It's probably 2/3 of a bag. And that's one of the ones with the curved edge. And you see how the cut edge is on the back. And then the front has more layers and folds in it, which looks really cool. Okay, and so when you're done, you just fold it up and.
Yep, you use them this year, you can fold them up, and then you can use them next year.
Okay.
And the nice thing is how they store.
Yep. So you can reuse them year after year after year. Okay. All right, so.
Well, now you didn't mention the decorating. We did attempt to spray glue and then glitter them, which would be really pretty. It's just, we just ended up not really needing it.
Yeah.
But you could do that at home. You could use, decorate them however you wanted to.
Yep. We tried to spray adhesive and then sprinkling glitter on them. It didn't really stick great.
No.
But it may have just been the adhesive was old too. And there may be other better ways to glue the glitter on there too. But it was kind of a cool way to jazz them up a little bit. So. All right, so on to our paper Christmas trees. These are going to take a little bit more, I wouldn't say finesse. They're a little bit trickier, but they're very doable. So you got your paper towel tube that came in your little kit, and if you didn't, just save one next time you use up your paper towel. You can use toilet paper rolls if you want to do shorter trees. You can cut these if you want to do different levels of tree. You just have to upsize or downsize your paper depending on what you decide to do, the height. So all the measurements and everything that we give you tonight are going to be based on a paper towel sized tree. So what you're going to do, actually let's do our paper first. So you should all have 10 pieces of paper, which should be a little bit more than you actually need, but we'll see how this goes. So you're going to take a piece of paper and you're going to fold it in half 3 times. Fold it in half once, twice, and fold it in half 3 times. And this is just to give you lines. If you have a paper cutter, feel free to use that. It goes a lot faster. I usually cut a couple pieces of paper at a time. So we're gonna do, and the lines don't have to be perfect. We're gonna cut these. And you're going to need to cut, so you're gonna do this with 6 sheets of paper. 6 sheets of paper, you're gonna cut them into this size piece of paper, and it's roughly a 4.5 inch by 3 inch rectangle. So if you wanna use like book pages or old wrapping paper, newspaper, that kind of gives you an idea of the size paper that you're gonna need.
Okay, so in total, you're gonna want how many this size, do you think?
You are going to need 56 pieces of this size paper.
Okay, that's with the 3 folds.
Yes.
Okay.
Now you're gonna take another sheet of paper and you're gonna fold this one in half 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this you're gonna get, out of the other piece of paper, you got 8 rectangles. This one you're gonna get 16 out of it. That's for my sister, the math teacher. It's 1/16. Got that?
Got it.
Okay. So we're gonna cut on the lines again and cut several pieces at the same. Actually, you're only gonna need to do this on 2 sheets of paper. You only need 30 of these size. And again, doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. All right, now this can be the tricky part. So I'm gonna come over here behind the camera, kind of. And if you hold the paper on this bottom left-hand corner and you take your fingers and put them on the right-hand corner, you're gonna twirl it up and curl it, ooh, I lost it, curl it in like that. Okay, and so you're gonna do that until you get a cone and just keep curling the paper around. And you might have to adjust it a little bit, that's okay, until you get something that looks kind of like that. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, and everybody's cone is gonna look a little bit differently. The idea though is that you try to make them match. So if your cone looks different from my cone, that's absolutely fine. Just make all your cones look like your cone. Okay, all your cones don't have to look exactly like my cone. Now you just put a little dot of glue right there, and then you secure it down like that. And that's all you need to hold that cone. It'll stay in a cone shape just by doing that. You can also use tape if you want to. I suppose a stapler would work too, because the staples won't show. Okay, and so that's your cone. Okay, I'm going to show you one more time.
And you kind of want your point on the cone, right?
Yes, you want to point as much as you can. And we do have step-by-step pictures of this on the handout that you can come pick up if you want to at the library. And I think she's be available online maybe too. I'm not sure. Okay, so you're taking the bottom left-hand corner, you're grabbing the right, and you're curling it up and in. So it looks just about like that. And now you're going to grab the bottom and just kind of work that top piece around until you get your cone. And then a little dot of glue and hold. Ooh, it's hot. Hold. Okay. So there is your cone.
And that's with the bigger paper.
That's with the bigger paper.
Okay.
You do the same thing with the little paper. It might be a little bit trickier just because it's smaller, but it's still very doable. So you just do the same thing, hold that bottom corner, curl it up. And just kind of shimmy that around there. And then put your little dotted glue.
Perfect for in front of the TV project.
It is.
Once you
That's
get the glue
exactly
on
what I did 2 nights ago. I sat in front of the TV and I glued all these. And it really is much more fun and satisfying to glue all your cones first before you start on your tree. So try to, when you actually start doing this, we're not gonna have time to have everybody sit there and do all this tonight because it does take a little bit of time, but we want to at least show you how to do it. Okay, so now we're going to take our paper towel. After you've glued all your pieces of paper, you've got all your cones. Now you're going to take your paper towel tube and you're going to take scissors and you're going to cut about halfway down your tube. And you're going to do four slits, and make them equal distance. So think of like a clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And just cut 4 slits halfway down, just like that.
And why are you cutting the slits, Linda?
Because we need a cone shape
Okay.
for our tree. Because our tree at the top, as you can see, is pointy and the paper towel tube is not. So now you're going to scrunch these in. Want to tell them how we did this with the big tree?
Well, I was thinking about how much paper we used with the big tree.
Yeah, which we saved.
Yes, we did.
We did not throw that away.
No, that's to be another installation someday.
That's right. It will be repurposed.
Amen.
So you scrunch those together as best you can, just kind of like that. Just scrunch them up and then take a piece of tape and just wrap it around it just to kind of hold it in place. It doesn't have to be beautiful. Nobody's going to see it. Okay. So now we've got our cone base. Looks a little bit like a rocket, and it's going to look more like a rocket in a second. Marker. So now you're going to mark some lines on your cone. So with the dimensions of this tree, we have, what is it, 12 layers? No, not 12 layers. We have 9. We have 9 layers. So you're going to mark 8 rows on your paper towel tube. You're going to start about 1 inch away from the end, and you're just going to draw a ring around it. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. It's just to help guide you so that you space your layers out. And you're going to do 8 of these. My lines are really bad.
It's just to guide you kind of where you're going.
Thank goodness. Okay, so when you get to your 5th line, you want to make sure you're above the halfway point. That's important. All right, so 1 more, no, 2 more. And 1, and then last one. Okay, so now I have 8 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines, okay? The 9th line is your cone, is your tree topper, and that's gonna sit right up on top of the tip. So that's why we don't have a line up on top there. Okay, so now we're ready to start our base. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take, you wanna do this? You wanna have some fun? Sure, okay. So you're gonna kind of flatten your point because that's where your glue's gonna go. And so you wanna have a nice flat space to glue onto your cone.
Okay.
So we're gonna glue onto the bottom line. And I went a little bit above the line. It's more of a It's more of a guideline
Gotcha.
than a
Okay.
rule.
All right.
Pirates and Caribbean.
Yes.
See that?
Yes, I
Okay.
do.
So go ahead and
Okay.
put your glue on there.
Okay.
You put on your first cone, and you want the tip to be up like that. You don't want the tip to be on the bottom.
Okay.
Okay.
So your little fold.
Yep. So there you go. So it's like that. Okay.
Everybody can see. And your tip is pointing out.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Now you're going to do this clock thing again. So this is your 12 o'clock. Now you're going to do 6 o'clock. Flatten your tip again. Make sure your pointy is up. It is. You're doing such a good job.
Well, you know.
All right. And now
Okay.
you're going to do 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock.
Okay. Flatten my little tip.
Get your tip.
And I'm going to do.
There.
Now, is there a reason you're doing alternating like this, or
Just helps you get them spaced evenly apart. If you went ahead and just started going around the circle, you might get them all clumped up on one side and not enough on the other side. So this just gives you a nice evenly spaced. And it's not, again, it's not going to be perfect, but at least it helps give you a little bit of a guide as you go.
Okay. So there we go.
All right. All right. Now it really looks like a rocket. Okay, now you're going to fill in the rest of your clock. So now you're going to put in the 1 o'clock and the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock and the 4 o'clock. No, the 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to put 2 in here. So space 2.
So 2 everywhere along the way.
Yep. You're going to fill 2 in on each side.
Okay, and I'm gonna just glue the
Yep.
whole thing.
You can do that.
I already flattened them. Out. And I point out. Okay. All right, and you just do that with all your sections.
Just a little.
I'm gluing my fingers more than I am.
I can understand. I believe that.
Oh.
All right.
So
So
now
now we're going to do a little TV thing. We're going to jump ahead. We're going to take the pot roast out of the oven, all fully cooked.
Oh, good.
Okay, maybe half cooked because this isn't done either. Okay, so now we're on our second layer. We've gotten 12 cones all the way around the base. Now we're going to start our second row. And what you're going to do is you don't have to do the 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock thing anymore, but you are going to follow where your gaps are. So you're going to put a cone so that it lays between 2 of the bottom cones.
Okay, so wherever there is the space, you're covering.
Yes.
Okay.
Crunch there. Now,
Okay, so like that. I
yes.
just put it in between.
Yes. Now, when we did this with
keep going.
Just keep going.
Okay.
You're having fun. You look like you're having fun. When we did this with the giant tree, we really didn't know what we were doing. We were flying by the seat of our pants.
Yeah.
We had some really long pieces of cardboard, and we cut them into probably 12-foot tall triangles. And I think there might have been 12 of them, 12 pieces, 9 pieces.
I don't recall.
And we taped them all together lengthwise so that we had this kind of base shape. So it was a cardboard base that was tighter at the top and bigger at the bottom. Well, then we had to figure out how to get this thing to stand until we got the paper on it. So we went and got one of those stanchions that we have here at the library that we weren't using, and we stuck that up the middle of the cardboard, and then that gave that some support. Well, then as we started thinking about this, fortunately before we got going, we realized with the height of that tree, there was no way we could get a ladder in here to reach the top of the tree to glue more pieces on. So we realized, let's get it over in so less in there. We realized we were going to have to start at the top and work our way down, which is not the way to do it,
No,
really.
It was not ideal.
No, it was not. Because we couldn't get this nice, even patterning. And we really, again, we were flying by the seat of our pants, and we just were guessing on how big this paper was going to need to be in order to give us the shape that we wanted. So we started at the top. We had the whole thing laying down on top of one of the chairs under the dome, because it was the only place in the whole library that could hold something that tall.
Yep.
And so we started gluing around the top, and we had to glue under everything as we went. So we'd have to lift the layer above and put some glue on the tip of our cone, and then stick it on there, and then hope that it fell in the right place.
Yeah, we didn't have a pattern per se. We were just kind of just
Winging it.
wherever it looked like you needed a branch is where
Yep.
a roll of paper went.
And then we got down to a certain point, and we were able to start at the base again. And so we did that. We left a gap in the middle, and we started gluing around the base, and then working our way up to meet the other half. And then we started to get up to the other half and realized our paper was two different whites.
Yeah.
One was whiter than the other. And so then we had to try and blend them by mixing in the brighter whites with the not as bright whites to try and make it all
Had to integrate it a little.
cohesive. It was fun. It took a long time, and it was a lot more work than we thought it was going to be, but I'm glad we did it.
Me too.
It was definitely worth it.
I feel like most of our projects end up being at least a little more to a lot more work than I think they're going to be. But you know, that's part of it.
That's right.
That's part of it.
That's right.
And I'll using the big cones at this
You're
point.
still
right?
using the big cones. So you're going to use these big cones. Let's see. You're going to get.
number 3,
I gotta look at my notes.
Is that
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that would be better. So you're going to get up to row 5. So the first 4 rows, you're going to have 12 of these cones all the way around. So by the time you get halfway, you've got 48 cones glued on.
Okay.
Row 5 is going to be this row right here, just above your halfway cut line. That one, you're going to still use the larger size cones, but you're only going to do 8. 3, 4, 5. Look at that.
There.
Okay. So by the time you get up to number 5, you're only using 8 of these. And it should be the last 8 that you have, basically. Once you get to the 6th row, now you're going to start using your smaller cones. Your smaller cones, and the other thing is when you get to the 8 cones, so you've got 12 cones on row 4, you're doing 8 cones on row 5. You're not going to have exact overlaps anymore, and that's okay. Just try to kind of place them evenly around, and you can space it out kind of like I did with the clock on the bottom. Just do 1, 2, and then put your
So they're even.
your 3 in the middle of those.
Okay.
So then you got 8 large ones. Now you're going to have 8 small ones on row 6. On row 7, you're going to have another 8 small ones. Row 8, you're going to have 8 small ones. And then for the very tippy top,
how do you do that one?
you're going to do 6 of those. And that what I did.
Yeah, we can. This is the finished one.
Yeah, you can,
I don't know if you can kind of see if that's helpful.
you can see it a little bit. The top of the paper towel tube is actually about halfway down those cones, because you want your cones to meet at the top, and it won't do that if you line the top of your cone up with the top of the paper towel tube. It's not going to work. So you want to push your glue about halfway down your cone, like that. And then you're going to stick it to the top of the paper towel tube.
So it's almost like you're making a little hat at
Yeah,
the top of your.
exactly. And it's not going to stick for me.
Oh, I wonder if it's the tape.
Okay, so that's how you're going to do those, and you're going to do 6 of those on the top. Okay.
And what was it? How would you kind of
Glued
glue?
it about halfway, or you
Just-
can even put glue on the very top of the paper towel tube and then
just
stick
stick
your
on?
paper to it if you want
Okay.
to do it that way
I'm
too.
gonna try it that way.
Yeah.
And you want these will be tight then, I take it. because
Yes, you want
have-
that top peak to kind of meet up.
Let's see.
And yours will, when you're doing this from the bottom up, they'll stick a lot better because the bottom cones will support it as you're gluing it too. Okay, so that is how you make a paper cone tree, and this is your finished product. Voila. It really is so much fun to do. If you don't want to do hot glue, if you want to work with your kids and stuff, you can certainly use tape. And then you can decorate it. You can do the spray glue and then throw glitter at it. You could also do spray glue and sprinkle Epsom salts on it. And then you have like that chunky, frosty look. My daughter came through and found a little metallic present gift bow and stuck that on the top of my tree. I took it off because I didn't like it. You can decorate it any way you want. You can bling it up.
You can. And I love the idea how you mentioned in the beginning, doing the different size trees. You can make a whole little forest. You do your little toilet paper and cut this down.
Yes, yes. So if you did do a toilet paper roll base, I would start, I think your base is fine as long as you do your tapered edge like on this. But I would make these smaller. So maybe even start with the smaller size cones.
What, the 1/16?
Yeah.
Like make the small.
To go around your base. Yeah. So that way it's because you don't want your top to be this big on this little tree like this. You don't want your base to be this big around either.
So
on a shorter tree.
So would you think these would be like your big cones, and would you make smaller cones for the top of it?
I think so.
So fold it.
Yeah.
Again.
And you know, play with it, see if there's a better size for it. But that's maybe a middle ground cone between those two sizes would be good too. That would work also. Okay, so one thing that is always very important to Katrina and I is that none of our work be wasted. And not in the sense that everything we make, we want to, you know, be memorialized or anything, for goodness sake. But that we don't just make things and then they get tossed out. So anything that we make, we always try to repurpose it when we're done with it, or we make things out of something else that we already have. Some of that is also, you know, we're a library. We don't have an endless supply of money, so we have to be careful with that kind of thing. But also just resources wise, we don't want to be wasteful. So what are some ideas that we have that we use when we are done with our beautiful decorations?
Well, the snowflakes are nice because they just keep going.
Mm-hmm. And you can just kind of collapse them down and.
Yeah. And again, once you're tired of them as white snowflakes, you could spray paint them to be pink or whatever.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Could.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think what else you would do. You probably could cut off the hot glue. You'd be tossing some of it, and then the rest of it you could recycle. Yep. Because it's just paper. Yep.
Put it in your compost bin.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you thinking?
Those are pretty good. These are not easy to store, but the nice thing is that they're very lightweight. So it's not a heavy, you know, you can pile a bunch of these in a box and it's not going to be a chore to carry it around, you know, if you just want to store it in your attic like that. So I think that works too.
In worst case scenario, you do tire of it, or after enough years it's crunched.
Yep.
Same thing, you could just cut up the hot glue and that's all paper as well.
Yeah. And we, you know, the large tree under the dome, we took that apart. We took all the cones off and we did like we did on here, where as we made cones, we stuck them inside of each other. And so we have all the cones from that large tree under the dome in boxes in our maker space stored away, still as intact cones. We had to rip the ends off a little bit to take it off the cardboard because we hot glued it on there, but it worked.
Yep. So someday that'll be something.
Yep.
Something else.
Yep. And we saved all our paper chains and paper snowflakes. And we, with everything going on in the world right now, what we decided to do this year is, rather than spend time and money on creating something brand new that people might not be able to see for whatever reason, we took all the snowflakes, the 3D snowflakes, and then the cut snowflakes that staff did, and we hung them on the front windows. So you can drive by the library anytime and see them. They're really pretty at night.
We did the white lights.
Yep. So anytime you want to drive by and see those, you can. And there it is for everybody to enjoy again this year. So,
well, now it would be fun, I think, too, to maybe see what everybody here has created.
I think so
like,
too.
If there's a way to see, like, your snowflakes that you came up with.
So what we would like you to do is send in pictures of your creations. Especially, we'd love to see any variations that you did. So if you added some things to it, if you make a whole forest of them, please take a picture, send it in, send it to Lorene, and hopefully we can put them on Facebook or Instagram or something so that everybody can see all the beautiful things that you made tonight.
Well, that's how you get inspiration. I mean, that's where ours comes from, is from other people.
Yes.
So it's fun to share that.
Yes, we are big fans of Pinterest and love to look around it and see if there's things that we can use and how we can kind of modify things to make them work for us and our purposes here at the library too. So. All right.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thanks for coming tonight. We had fun. I hope you did too.